Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education in the town of Westfield in the county of Union, New Jersey at 7 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 in Cafeteria B of Westfield High School, 550 Dorian Road, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of this meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, September 15, 2022, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education, located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can I have a roll call?
Zahara Aziz. Rob Bonaccio.
Here.
Mike Beelan.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Layla Morelli. Here. Sonal Patel.
Here.
Amy Root.
Here.
Kristen Sonic-Schmeltz.
Here.
Mary Wickens.
Thank you. Layla, will you lead us in a flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sonal, do you have any announcements tonight?
I do. Westfield High School will receive the Group 4 ShopRite Cup for the 2021-2022 school year at a ceremony at Gary Kaler Stadium on October 1st, beginning at 1:30 p.m. The prestigious recognition is awarded annually at the end of the school year to the top athletic programs in New Jersey in each of 4 public school groups and 2 non-public school groups. This is the second ever ShopRite Cup win for our Westfield athletes since 2010, with 13 sports contributing to the award. Join us as we celebrate the Westfield High School athletics program, then stay to cheer on our Blue Devils football team as the game gets underway at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Sonal. Layla?
Congratulations to Westfield High School senior Andrew Mattis, who has been named a semifinalist in the 2023 National Merit Scholarship Program. Andrew is among a nationwide pool of about 16,000 semifinalists who represent less than 1% of the United States high school seniors. These academically talented students have the opportunity to continue in the competition for national merit scholarships that will be offered next spring.
Thank you, Layla. Amy? Okay. Rob?
Oh, wait, sorry. It's a stealth announcement. Sorry, it was hiding from me. Oh, thank goodness I looked. I think I have 2. Yes, I do. All right. The first one is that National Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month is observed from September 15th through October 15th. The Union County Office of Community Engagement and Diversity has a variety of events planned throughout the month that are free to the public. Visit ucnj.org/HHM22 or call 908-527-4388 for more information. Additionally, we look forward to celebrating the rich history and culture of the American Latino community in our schools and the broader Westfield community. And my second one says, the PTC Special Education Committee is sponsoring its annual back-to-school night this Thursday, September 22nd at 7:30 p.m. in the Edison Intermediate School Library. Assistant Superintendent Dr. Michael Weissman will provide updates on the latest developments and supports that are important to the special education community. This program is free, and all parents, teachers, and therapists are invited to attend. Pre-registration is not required. For more information, email westfieldspecialedparents@gmail.com or visit the community flyers page at the district website, www.westfieldnjk12.org. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Rob?
Join journalist and author Sally Williams Cook on Wednesday, September 28th, as she shares her journey from class of 1972 graduate and High's-Eye feature writer to New York Times bestseller. Cook's presentation, A Writer's Life, will begin at 7 p.m. at the Westfield Memorial Library and is part of the 13th annual Hail Speakers Series, hosted by the Friends of the Westfield Memorial Library. Pre-registration is required at www.wfield.org/hail wmlnj.org, that was good, or by calling 908-789-4090, extension 0. The Friends of the Westfield Memorial Library also will hold its annual Children's and Teens Book Sale on October 26th through the 29th. They will be accepting donations of books, CDs, and DVDs in good condition on October 23rd through the 25th. Visit fwmlnj.org for more information on both events.
Thank you, Rob. Kristen?
The Westfield Historical Society and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Association of Westfield are co-sponsoring an afternoon of presentations and discussion titled Reflections on the African American Experience in Westfield, this Saturday, September 24th at 4 p.m. at the Reeve House. The event is free to the public, but due to space limitations, it is requested that reservations be made by calling 908-654-1794. Additional information can be found on the Community Flyers page of the district website.
Thank you, Kristen. Mike?
Yes, we have a seminar, The Effects of the Smartphone and Social Media on Our Mental Health. That will be the topic of a virtual presentation by licensed social worker Sean Foley on Tuesday, September 27th at 7:30 p.m. Visit the Community Flyers page on the district website to register. Registrants will receive a confirmation via email with a link to the virtual event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Sonal, do you have one for Mary?
It's Palooza time. The Westfield High School Dream Team, along with the Albert Anthony Kale Foundation and the Matthew Thomas Torriello Memorial Fund, is hosting the 10th annual Anti-Drug and Alcohol Palooza with specific contests for elementary, intermediate, and high school students. Students in grades 1 through 5 are invited to create an original poster with the theme, Westfield, we have better things to do, healthy choices, everyday choices, while students in grades 6 through 8 will create an original poem, and students in grades 9 through 12 will create an original public service announcement with the same theme. The submission deadline is November 7th, 2022. Entry forms and instructions can be found under Health and Welfare on the Community Flyers page on the district website.
Thank you, Sonal. All Westfield Public Schools will be closed on Monday, September 26th and Tuesday, September 27th in observance of Rosh Hashanah, and on Wednesday, October 5th in observance of Yom Kippur. Schools will also be closed on Monday, October 10th for Columbus Day, and as staff members participate in Professional Development Day. And the next Board of Education meeting will be on Tuesday, October 18th, here in Cafeteria B at Westfield High School, beginning at 7 p.m. The meeting will be live streamed via the district YouTube channel, which viewers can access on the board tab on the district website. A complete agenda will be available on Friday, October 14th. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Gonzalez.
Great. Thank you very much. And for those in attendance or watching, these announcements are also included in the synopsis that is developed after each board meeting. It does not take the place of the official minutes of the board meeting, but we attempt to summarize the highlights from each board meeting and provide a synopsis that is posted on our website and that you could subscribe to receive in your email inbox. Included in that are the URLs and the specific email addresses, so you don't have to hurriedly write them down, but I do want to share that for anyone interested. For my superintendent's report this evening, I just wanted to quickly highlight the successful and exciting open to the 22-23 school year. As I had the opportunity to walk through each of the schools, I was able to see with my own eyes the enthusiasm and the excitement of our staff and our students to be back in person, being able to see full faces and interact with one another almost as closely to normal as possible. Nevertheless, there are still opportunities for us to remember the importance of the lessons we learned over the past several years, to be mindful of our own personal health and safety as well as those around us, and to ensure that we respect and try to support the health and safety and well-being of all of our friends, colleagues, and classmates. As we continue into this school year, I'm looking forward to building upon that momentum in each of our classes in our schools as we continue to get more and more comfortable we start to also introduce and get more involved in reacclimating to the full athletic, extracurricular, visual performing arts experiences that will also help to shape the school year for 22-23. So I just want to end my comments on the start of the school year just saying stay tuned. I know I'm excited for what's ahead, and I hope you are too. Also this evening, as part of my superintendent's report, each year the State Department of Education requires that school districts provide a report of graduation pathways for the previous year's graduating class. Included in those pathways is data that highlights the number of graduates overall for the 21-22 school year. And in this case, we had 459 graduates in the class of 2022. 454 of those graduates received a diploma in June, whereas 5 others completed and received their diploma after completing courses through summer school. We also provide data that identifies how students are able to meet the graduation requirements that are set forth by the State Department of Education, specifically in the area of the graduation assessment. Through the class of 2022, we had no one that graduated passing a substitute competency test. So the majority of our students who satisfied the graduation assessment requirement graduated using the standard New Jersey Student Learning Assessment graduation assessments set forth by the state. However, there were portfolio appeals that are included as an alternate means for students who don't pass the state test. And in that case, we had 3 individuals who passed through the portfolio appeals in English language arts and 7 in mathematics. And then last but not least, we also have students who, through their individualized education plan, have alternate requirements that allow them to demonstrate their proficiency for meeting the graduation assessment requirements through an alternate means. And in that case, we had 27 students meet it for English language arts and 35 for mathematics. All in all, of the 459 graduates that I reported on, we didn't have any students who were denied graduation based upon their failure to meet a graduation assessment requirement. The details of that report are included under notes for the record this evening, but I did want to include it in my presentation this evening. I also want to just draw everyone's attention to our report next month. The administrative report will include the annual report of student progress. With the return of the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, the reports that we got for each individual student have been sent out to their respective homes, and the summer reports have been received by the district, and we will provide a report to the entire school community in October. And last but not least, the last item I'd like to discuss is actually one that I'll defer to our business administrator to do, and that is with regards to work this year that we will be reporting out on regularly and frequently, and that is the development of our 2022-2023 budget.
23-24.
23-24 budget. I forgot. Okay, so at this time I'd like to close my report, but ask Dana Sullivan to share a few comments.
So it feels like we just did 22-23, but as you know, in June, the board made the decision to move to the April election, which means the budget will also be up for a vote in April. So we have started, I mean, we usually start pretty early, but we've started even earlier this year working on the 23-24 budget. It's too early to report out any numbers at this point, but we have started to look at the preliminary numbers, looking at the enrollment for this year, which of course we use as a projection for next year, which starts our budgeting process for next year. So we are working on that, as well as developing a budget calendar, which maybe at the next board meeting we'll share as to the plan of rolling out the budget to the board and the public. So that is underway. And then on a different topic, just to piggyback on what Dr. Gonzalez was talking about, the start of school, I just wanted to talk about transportation for a minute. It's been no secret, I think I've said it whenever I've talked about transportation, that there is a national bus driver shortage. It is impacting us as well as every other district in the state and pretty much in the country. We do have 2 bus drivers that Durham School Services, who we contract with, just cannot provide. First of all, let me explain that we are subject to low bid on transportation contracts. So that is how we award contracts. So Durham has been the provider that has been the low bidder for most of our in-district routes. They are having an issue providing us with drivers, as they have in the past. We now have sub-drivers, but there's issues with sub-drivers because they don't know the routes. So we are daily having issues with 2 of our routes. We can, some of the parents are asking if we can default the contractor. I can default the contractor, but then we will have no buses at all. Nobody has drivers, so that continues to be the problem. If we don't contract with Durham, we're not going to have a contract with anyone. So we are working daily and all day on this problem and trying to solve it. Durham has assured us that they're offering signing bonuses and all kinds of other things. They're helping drivers. Part of the problem is that it's very hard for the drivers to pass the test. So they help drivers to pass the test. They train them. Drivers have to actually get under the bus and know what the different parts under the bus are, and that's part of the issue with getting a CDL with a school bus transportation endorsement. So we are hopeful. They do have people that are going to be tested next week and the week after, so we are hopeful that things will improve. But it's not for lack of trying, but there is a national problem, and it is happening everywhere. So I know you all saw some of the emails that we sent. Anybody have any questions on any of that?
That concludes our report this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Rob, Kristen, do you guys have a SIP report for us tonight?
Sure. So Chris and I will be chairing the curriculum committee this year. We had a meeting last week with Dr. Gonzalez, ourselves, and the other committee chairs as well, to just talk about committee meetings, expectations, ways to move them along, substantive issues regarding the meetings, et cetera. And it was certainly very helpful to set process and procedure down early, so we can have the most thoughtful and efficient meetings possible. We also had a chance to meet with Dr. Pinero to get some dates set for this year's curriculum committee meetings. Our goal in setting those dates was to have meetings a little bit farther in advance of our board meetings, so that when we have discussions about things that are going to be brought to the agenda, brought to vote, board members will have that much more time to look at those items and think about them and ask questions. We may have more time to respond to those and overall make it a cleaner presentation for both the board members and obviously for the public. As far as curriculum on the agenda today, we have 2 items that will move. One is the approval of intern and student teacher candidates for 2022-2023. And the second is to approve the district public health related school closing preparedness plan for 2022-23, and with any luck, that will be the only time we ever have to hear about that for the course of this year and many. This is the plan that would be implemented in the event of some sort of health-related school closure or abbreviated scheduling as the result of any sort of health-related school closures. Everything from the standards by which facilities will maintain the buildings, to how teachers will instruct, to technology's responsibilities in ensuring virtual instruction, if that's what we need to go to, is taken care of, and all things that, again, I hope this is the last time any of us ever have to discuss for the course of this year. So those are the things on the agenda, and that is the report. Our first meeting of the year will be September 30th, and we'll have, I'm sure, more items to discuss following.
Thank you, Rob. Mike, do you have a finance facilities report for us?
Yes, I do. We haven't yet met as a group. We had a date originally planned for September 30th, but it conflicts with a couple people who are on the curriculum committee. So we're going to move that probably the day before or the following week. So we'll have it as well, well in advance of the meeting. Just a couple of things I want to point out on the agenda this evening. First, I'd like to just note 2 donations that we've accepted. Mr. and Mrs. McNutt, who are providing classroom supplies to the Tamaqua School in the amount of $100, so thank you for that. And also for the Tamaqua School PTO for purchasing an air conditioning unit in the classroom valued at approximately $750. Also on the agenda, there's a resolution for a sideboard agreement with the WEA to have 3 positions at the high school for an AV position. And I think that's all I really want to point out at this point in time. And there's just some 2 transfers that we need to do just for legal reasons in order to transfer money for various state requirements. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And Layla, do you have a policies? Or Sonal?
Layla and I are going to chair the Policies, Personnel, and Governance Committee, and we were also in that meeting last week where we set expectations. We are planning to meet to set up some dates, to get some dates on the calendar so we can get our committee moving forward. And tonight we will be talking about, in the governance section, well, I guess I'll explain it here, where the district and board goals that we brought up at the last meeting, we will be motioning to approve those.
Thank you, Sonal. And all right. During this portion of the meeting, district residents and staff are invited to address the Board of Education on agenda action items only. The board requests that individuals state their name and address for the record, the specific action items they're commenting on, and asks that all remarks be directed to the board president, not to individual board members or staff. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey, and the board bears no responsibility nor will be liable for any comments made by members of the public. If a matter concerning a district staff member is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, the superintendent of schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to all items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered, and each speaker's statement will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes in duration. If you'd like to address us on agenda action items tonight, please come to the podium. We're not voting on that tonight, so if any comments related to the field, if we could just hold till the end, we'll have a separate comment session that's open to all topics. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Brian Crawford, and I live at 795 Knollwood Terrace. I'm the father of a 6th grader at Edison Intermediate School and a junior at Newark Academy. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, and fellow school district residents, I would like to speak to you about the district board and board goals that you will hopefully approve tonight. As you consider how you will support and achieve these goals, I wanted to point out challenges to each goal that you would be wise to avoid. Student achievement. The board would be wise to avoid projects that could undermine the health of students and contradict environmental learning objectives of students. Strategic planning. The board would be wise to avoid entering into long-term commitments while it goes through a strategic planning process to ensure all commitments, all, are aligned with your ultimate strategy for the district. Fiscal planning. The board would be wise to avoid irresponsible financial decisions as it prepares to put a budget before voters in April 2023. For instance, trading school property, as an example, worth millions of dollars for $1 a year, will undermine both the electorate's confidence in you and their vote. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. The board would be wise to avoid contributing to inequitable access to school green space and inequitable access to resources for non-sports activities. After all, contrary to what you see in the room, not every student is an athlete or a member of the marching band. Ladies and gentlemen, the board would be wise to approve these goals this evening, but it would also be wise to reject projects that are woefully misaligned and in conflict with the same goals you are voting on tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Kyle George, Short Hills Court. On the personnel action agenda tonight is the ratification of Dr. Pinero's contract and salary for the school year. I have a few simple questions. Does the $178,000 compensation include the hourly rate and other economic interests that Dr. Pinero presumably started receiving as part of his apparent consulting side gig? And the agenda says that this vote is in accordance with the written approvals received from the executive county superintendent. Was the county superintendent aware of the consulting? I'll elaborate so you can provide an answer to my simple questions and make an informed vote tonight. Back in November 2021, Dr. Pinero began courting a side gig with the commercial enterprise, Soft Skills AHA. Soft Skills AHA is trying to break into the education market with their existing enterprise training product. Using his district email and capitalizing on his role as a seasoned education veteran and current assistant superintendent, he negotiated his engagement and hourly rate, as well as a potential commission on product sales and other potential compensation for a book being written by the company. I don't know when or if Dr. Pinero actually started to receive compensation from this enterprise, but this documented evidence does raise questions. Here's what I do know. Dr. Pinero was arranging to have Westfield set up as a pilot program for free with the intent for him and the company to use it as a model to sell to other districts. Dr. Pinero contacted people within the district about piloting Soft Skills AHA products. He pitched a free pilot program to other Westfield administrators on December 15th without mentioning his affiliation. Dr. Pinero has been active on social media touting the Soft Skills AHA products. More than a month after starting his relationship with Soft Skills AHA, Dr. Pinero emailed his union rep to ask a question about ethics. The union rep replied somewhat curtly to not contact him from his work address about this. And there's no disclosure of this engagement on Dr. Pinero's 2022 state disclosure form filed in January of this year. Per NJSA 18A12-24, administrators are subject to a conflicts of interest policy and a code of ethics. There's a 2021 NJ Ethics Commission advisory opinion, A12-21, that has many parallels to this situation. I think there may be an issue with Dr. Pinero's dual roles. In short, the COI and COE, plus this advisory opinion, state that you cannot represent your outside company in any way in the district in which you're employed. In addition, I believe there's an issue using your district employment to financially benefit from the sale of a commercial product to any district. Finally, regardless of the potential conflict of interest, the state financial disclosure requires all income over a certain amount be declared. I do indeed think that soft skills, the concept, not the company, are very important in the real world. So too are ethical standards. Coincidentally, Dr. Pinero himself appears well versed on the requirements of NJSA 18A. In a March 3rd, 2016 High-Zi article entitled Exploring the Ethics of Teacher Tutoring, Dr. Pinero himself quotes 18A and his interpretation of it. So before voting, I ask that you disclose all the terms of this contract renewal, prohibitions, and declarations. And if you vote tonight to pass this, understand that you're doing so having been made aware of these issues, and that a vote in favor is an assertion that everything is above board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George. Anybody else wish to address us this evening? Seeing none, this portion of public comment is now closed, and there will be a second chance to speak at the end of the meeting. Scroll up here. All right. I ask the board to approve the minutes of the August 30th, 2022 board meeting and the executive session minutes for August 30th, 2022. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you. And Layla, you're taking, okay. Layla, governance?
Sure. So tonight, I'd like to move item A under the governance section of tonight's agenda. And this is to approve the following district and board goals. The first one is student achievement, develop and implement consistent practices that serve to align learning objectives and instructional practices across schools, content, and grade levels. Strategic planning, engage the Westfield community in a strategic planning process to establish common goals and objectives that will provide a clear path to move our district forward. Fiscal planning, provide clear, timely, and factual information regarding the 2023-2024 district operating budget to ensure an informed electorate in April 2023. And lastly, diversity, equity, inclusion, continue to develop and deepen DEI practices and programs in the areas of professional development, recruitment, selection, and retention of diverse candidates, curriculum and curricular materials, community engagement, and school-wide programming. Is there a second? Kristen?
I'd like to make one note. These are district goals, not district and board goals. It's printed incorrectly on the agenda. Yeah, no, that's fine.
The board can support them, however.
Oh, the board does support the district goals, and our board goals will reflect the district goals in how we can support. But these are administrative goals. Do we have to amend the motion, or we just note it? Okay.
We're ready for a vote?
Any discussion? Anyone want to ask any questions or have any discussion about the district goals?
I thought we had a good discussion last time. I don't know if anyone has any comments, but I know I don't.
Yeah.
Do you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo Amy. I mean, the goals were presented last meeting. These are consistent with where we were. I'm very happy to see, especially goal number one, a strong focus on student achievement, getting us back to academics, coming out of where we were with pandemic-related things. So I think I'm pleased to see a set of district goals that are reflecting getting back to what we've expected from among the school districts. So happy to support them.
Yeah. All right. Dana?
Rob Bonaccio,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes?
Kristen Sonic Smelt.
Yes.
Thank you. And Sonal, personnel.
I'd like to move items A to HH under the personnel section of tonight's agenda.
Second?
Thank you. Amy?
Dr. Gonzalez, any retirements you'd like to address?
Yes.
We all want to prolong it.
I mean, no, I don't.
Yeah. We're just going to vote no. So.
No, we do have two retirements this evening, and I am announcing them with regret, as these two staff members have been with the district for a number of years, 15 in total to be exact. The first is Renata Bieber, who's been a familiar presence in Franklin Elementary School's main office for the last 5 years as the attendance secretary and most recently as the building's head secretary. She is often the first person families new to Franklin encounter, and she instills confidence and assurance that their children are in good hands. Gracious and welcoming, Renata juggles phone calls, student, staff, and parent needs with respect and care. While Renata will miss everyone at Franklin, she is looking forward to having time to visit her mother in New Zealand. In addition, this evening, Dana Sullivan has effectively served as the district's business administrator and board secretary for 10 years. A highly efficient manager and an esteemed leader, not only in Westfield, but throughout the state and the region, Dana's talents and experience are respected at a national level. While in Westfield, she has skillfully established procedures for fiscal responsibility, shepherded unqualified audits with no recommendations, and initiated self-insurance which produced considerable savings and helped to deepen the reserve accounts. She has been adept and successful in overseeing numerous capital projects and has impressively balanced the budget with considerable shortfalls that necessitated well-thought-out reductions. In addition, Dana is an invaluable member of the district's leadership team, and she will be profoundly missed. We wish Renata and Dana happy and healthy retirements.
Dana, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'll save it for December.
Okay. Just to be clear, we do actually have to accept it. we have to vote, but we joke. But no, Dana, what you've taught me as a board member over the 10 years that I've worked with you, and there will be more in December to say, but I'm not looking forward to losing you, but I know the district is in very good hands because of the groundwork you've laid.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This district has been amazing. The highlight of my career.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, Amy?
Oh, I just wanted to say, first of all, my kids didn't go to Franklin, but I hear from the Franklin parents. I'm sure that Mrs. Bieber will be missed sorely. I hear about her quite often from the parents, and I know what an integral part she plays at that school. And from firsthand knowledge, I can say that Dana Sullivan will certainly be missed. As Brendan said, as Dr. Gonzalez said, you've done great things for our district, and we have been very lucky to have you. So I can only imagine how much fun you will have when you are not here every day. But we will surely miss you, and we're glad you've spent 10 years with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you as well. I've served with Dana on a number of committees, and she's a true rock star in this district, and she'll be greatly missed, but we'll have more to say, I'm sure, should we approve this measure.
All right, with that.
Ready for a vote?
Yep. Dana?
Rob Bonaccio.
Yes, with regret.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
A reluctant yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Kristen Sonic-Schmeltz.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mike, Finance and Facilities?
Yes, I'd like the board to consider items A to O on the agenda. Do I have a second? Is that Amy?
Layla seconded.
Layla, okay, thank you, Layla. I highlighted everything. One thing I just want to mention, there is no action item for the Edison Fields project on the agenda. I just want to be clear that there's no vote taking place relating to that tonight. Anyone have any items up for discussion?
Nope, you already addressed the couple items you wanted to address.
Okay.
So,
All right, Dana, can we have a vote?
Rob Bonaccio.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
yes.
Layla Morelli. Yes. Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Kristen Sonic-Schmeltz.
Yes.
Thank you. And Kristen Robb, curriculum?
I'm on this meeting. I'd like to move items A and B under the curriculum section of tonight's agenda. Item A, the intern student teacher candidates for 22-23, and item B, the district public health related school closure preparedness plan. Do I have a second?
Second. For Mike?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Amy.
Any additional discussion? Okay.
Rob Bonaccio.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Kristen Sonic-Schmeltz.
Yes.
Thank you all. I ask the board to note the notes for the record. Any unfinished business? Actually, that's me. Board goals. Rob was nice enough to help me out today with typing up these goals because I ran out of time. So that's sort of a reduction of our conversation from our last board meeting. So on this list, we have 6, and I'll actually add a 7th to it. The first 3 are to be effectively be partners with the district administration in the furtherance of district goals. Number 1 is to, in cooperation with the district, set policies and allocate appropriate funds to expand academic support, internships, guidance programs, and create a focus on future for district students. Let's just go through them one by one. Any questions, comments on that? Yeah.
Brendan, so you want us to read through these and then make comments on them? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And then
we
am
have to start the conversation somewhere.
That's
so.
fine. And am I able to add to the brainstorm list?
Yes, although we should be able to reduce this list down to a couple actionable
know.
goals. So,
But I still want to share this one.
Yeah.
So I went through a bunch of different districts' goals, and a lot of it is similar, but there was one that stood out to me. I don't remember who it was. I'll find it. But anyway, one of them was to increase student presentations at Board of Ed meetings. I'd probably word it as increase student engagement at board meetings. I'm very excited to see all our athletes here tonight. But I think that's really important, and it's something that we can definitely do as a board. It's a concrete goal, and it would be directly linked to our student achievement. So I'd like to see that happen. Public comment is definitely my favorite part of the meeting, and hearing from our students, the people that we are serving, I think is really essential.
all right. So you're to
So
add a
my-
goal or amend one to include?
I guess I got to read through all these, but somehow increase student engagement at our board meetings.
Okay.
Perhaps we could fold it in with number 4, about developing and implementing policies to expand methods by which the Board of Education communicates with its constituents, because certainly students are our constituents as well, offering more opportunities to interact with the public and provide additional training for board members.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We're discussing but not voting, is that correct?
Correct, unless we can clearly come to a consensus on it. But
Okay.
I don't see a need to rush unless we're all in agreement.
I think that's probably allowing some time for digestion and thoughtful commentary,
Yeah.
and being mindful of everyone's
Time?
time
Yes.
might be
Yeah.
a way to go.
The proposed goal number 2, in cooperation with District Goal B, establish a process for and complete a strategic plan for the district. This is already in the works. It's hugely led by the administration, but it is also part of the board's responsibilities. I think this one is pretty clear and easy to understand. Number 3, in cooperation with District Goal C, prepare a district budget that reflects the needs and priorities of our community that will be approved by a public vote. This is the first time we're going out to the vote on a budget in 10 years. We need to take into account our budget realities, but also the fiscal realities of the town and what the public is willing to approve. We can't go out with a wish list of X percent when the public will only support far less. So we need to have our ear to the ground and try and balance out all priorities. Questions or comments on 3?
Brendan, I think it ties with number. Brendan, I think it ties with number 3 and 4 as far as communication, to make sure that for whatever budget we are rolling out to the public, that there's a full, transparent communication of all expenses so that they understand why their budget will now be above the 2% cap, so they know exactly what we're spending it on.
Agreed. I mean, these definitely are all integrated with each other, and there's overlap.
Oh, sorry, Brendan. you mentioned wish list, and I actually was going to ask about this in new business, but I'm going to ask about it now. In crafting our budget, have we actually created a wish list that teachers, administration, Board of Ed committees can add to, so that as we're crafting this year's and future ones, we know what kind of, additional projects we want to try to implement?
I will ask Dr. Gonzalez to answer that one.
Is the question, do we have one ready now?
Not
Or is
like,
the
is there a
question,
work
will
in progress?
we-
Is there some sort of document that exists that can be added to?
So I think that will be part of the conversation that the Finance and Facilities Committee will talk about in depth, but also we will certainly include in future presentations. I would say over the years, the purpose and definition of a wish list may have taken on different forms, but I think looking at where we are headed, I think it starts to shape into something more, not just meaningful, but potentially actionable. So we do have documents, long-term, medium-term sort of facility documents, but I think what you're speaking to, in my opinion, suggests even more than that. And I would anticipate that in the coming months and years ahead, that will be part of our continuous planning. So wish list, I think, captures the essence of it, but it will soon become what becomes the needs, the wants, and the year 1, 2, and 3 sort of planning document. But I don't have that on me right now.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to see it. I just wanted to know that it existed or was in the
We're working
plan.
on it.
Thank you.
It's also going to be tied to the strategic plan, I would think.
Agreed.
Yep, and our facilities plan as that comes
Right.
together for another renewal. Any other questions on the goals we've discussed so far? Okay. Number 4, consistent with the district communication plan, develop and implement policies to expand methods by which the Board of Education communicates with its constituents, offer more opportunities to interact with the public, and provide for additional training for board members. So that's an all-encompassing goal that covers a lot, but any questions, comments there? All right.
Brandon?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I just retouch back on the financial though. I think we potentially could, while we have our board meetings and people can come up for 3 minutes to go and speak, it might be useful, especially with the budget and it's the first time that they're going to be voting on it, to have more of an interactive type of session where people can ask those questions and go back and forth and just get an overall understanding of the budget process, how it's going to be approved, what the costs are. So we can just interact more with the public, and because it's the money that's coming out of their pockets to pay for this budget. So I just want to make sure that they have a say in what they feel, and we hear them when we're putting the budget together.
Agreed. I mean, in background conversations, the level of marketing we're going to have to do on this budget to sell it to the public, both in the early phases and then obviously before the April vote, is going to require effort and time on all of our parts. I don't know exactly what format that would look like for a question and answer session, but it's a good suggestion and something we will try to figure out how to work with. Number 5, advance in cooperation with the district administration an expanded school safety plan that increases security in and on school properties, addresses safety threats like drug use and bullying, and educates parents and students regarding safety issues affecting students on and off school grounds.
I have a question about number 5. So I guess a couple of questions, actually. The first is, aren't we already doing this? Aren't these policies and plans in place? So I don't know what we'd be adding to it. That would be my first question.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are clearly administrative responsibilities, not a board governance responsibility.
So then isn't it out of our wheelhouse to have it as a board goal?
Parts of it, definitely. This has to be refined down. Where it comes to policy, we can ensure our policies are up to date. Anything you want to add?
Sure. I think where the overlap is in any of these, and I think as it's alluded to in the first few goals, is that in cooperation with the district, we're sort of adopting these missions as priorities for us. And we will support the administration and what they need, whether it be fiscally or policy-wise, to implement these things. But I think likewise, whatever falls into the board's domain, which is approving budgets or approving policies, would be how you can complement the work of the administration. I think there's just wording that we could do, that we could use to help just differentiate that, but I think it could help to articulate the roles and the responsibility, but also show the synergy between the work of the administration and the board.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any other questions on that? Okay. Number 6, create a legislative advocacy plan for the board to seek changes to laws, rules, and policies to eliminate obstructions to the practical and efficient operation of the district and to increase access to educational opportunities for students. Rob, I know this is something you're passionate about, so I'm going to...
Very much. So the document itself is meant to take the comments that we made last week and boil them down to some level of summary. It needs significant wordsmithing. I wasn't thinking it was going to be the final iteration of them. But we had a lot of discussions about some very important things. One is how are we going to, one is, academic, getting back to academic goals. 2 is our budgetary process. 3 is, the strategic plan. We did have a significant discussion about with a new school safety officer or a school safety director coming on board, how can we help enhance that mission? In fact, one of the things that was added to the suggestion, which I think it was Sahara actually mentioned it, was, yeah, school safety is important, but are there ways we can develop education plans for students and parents, which was a great addition to the thought process. The communications plan, we all agreed the board needed to improve, communications in different levels. And then obviously, as you mentioned, I am a big fan of using the board to the extent that it's within our power and purview to advocate for legislative changes that will better our students, that will make budgetary work easier. Just let's use a prime example. We're having issues with transportation. There's a bus driver shortage in some part because there are regulations that require a bus driver to essentially be a mechanic. The roads to our schools are not that long. So why I need to have someone be able to change a transmission or flood out a carburetor so we can get a kid from one part of town to another doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But it's what we have to follow. And it makes it very, very difficult for our district to be able to provide a student service when there are, in its best way, well-intentioned legislative goals and rules and regulations that are out there that don't help. So the idea of all this was to sort of get us started. I mean, we had a general discussion. This was, thought processes coming from my head. I wasn't quite expecting to be read out exactly like that. And I know they need some smithing, and I'm sure there's some overlap in different places. But the idea was to try to get the pool that we were swimming in and get it down to maybe a bit more of something, maybe a bathtub, so that we can work from there, especially since we weren't voting on these today. So the thought process was, let's get it out, let's get people talking. I think so far this discussion has been very helpful as far as saying, okay, well, where are we going a little far afield, or where is at least the potential going a little far afield, and how are we going to get back and get them consistent? So that was I feel like I have to say that to start off with. But yes, to the original question, I do think there's an advocacy position for the board to make sure that we aren't stuck, between bad and worse decisions when there are alternatives that are far more practical that'll help our students. So to the extent that we can do that and help change it, I think we ought to make that a goal.
I have a question about 6 specifically. So I understand what you said, Rob. I didn't understand before, but I understand why you're writing about the practical and efficient operation of the district. But I don't understand the second part, the increased access to educational opportunities for students. What did you? Can you elaborate on that? What you were thinking?
Sure. No, so some of the same rules and regulations may limit our ability to provide funding for educational opportunities for students. So, for example, if, from the budgetary process, if we are stuck funding certain things that either maybe don't make sense for Westfield, expenses that aren't that umbrella, that wouldn't cover that sort of umbrella work, that money's better spent elsewhere. It may be better spent on guidance. It may be better spent on internship opportunities. What I'm looking for is, from legislative advocacy where we might have funds allocated to things that maybe don't make very much sense anymore, we can get the flexibility based on the needs of our students, the needs of our parents, to reallocate those funds, maybe sometimes where we can't, to provide better access to opportunities for students. Everything from classroom materials to expanding our classes, again, to guidance, to internship opportunities, all things that have been raised by a number of members of this board about, how can we do better? How do we take Westfield and give our kids even just that many more opportunities? So that was the intent, to capture it. I always need wordsmithing, so I'm happy to take that, but that was the intent and the thought process there.
Thank you, Rob. Any other questions on the goals or the possible goals that were circulated?
The only other goal that I had written down from my notes last week was the idea of the board becoming certified.
That's the one that I was going to add. That's number
okay.
7 on my list.
Okay.
Last year, our first board goal was to obtain board certification through the New Jersey School Boards Association. It's a goal that requires the board receive X amount of hours of training and go through a strategic plan and have our policies evaluated. It's a comprehensive thing that says we're among the best boards in the state from an operational standpoint, and that's a goal that I would absolutely like to see at the top of our list going forward.
And that is a multi-year process, correct?
Yes.
It's not a one and...
Yeah, it's not something we can achieve in 1 year. It requires 16 hours of complete board training where somebody comes in and does professional development for us. We've done it in the past at the start of a meeting. We've done it at the end of meetings, but we have to have 16 hours there over the course of 4 years. So, or over a maximum of 4 years. So as long as we're achieving 4 hours a year, we're on track. If we can do more, that's great.
So what is the goal here in terms of coming up with something that we're voting on, and when would that vote occur?
I don't see us voting tonight because...
Neither do I, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it'll be at our next board meeting.
Okay.
To approve the board goals for the year. There are clearly some overlap in this list between the goals with some domains crossing over. I'd like to see us, I think we can reduce this down just for my notes to 5 goals possibly. And I think that's an achievable number of goals for the district, or for the board for the year.
I'd like to request that we all get a copy of the goals before we're voting on them.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yes, so that was my next question. So does this go to, does this go to our governance policy committee? Who's gonna fix the wording? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Sorry, Layla.
They can handle it. All right. Any other old business tonight? Any new business? Any liaison reports yet?
One quick thing, I know we have a lot of people waiting to speak. I just wanted to make a plug. Franklin's Pumpkin Fair is back, and it's happening on Saturday. So if you have some spare time and are in the area, you should go check it out. It's a great fundraiser for the school, and a nice trip down nostalgia lane for some of you who might have gone to Franklin. That's all.
Thank you, Amy. All right. And with that, I will reopen the meeting to public comment. During this portion of the meeting, members of the public are invited to address the Board of Education on any topic. The board requests that individuals state their name and address for the record and asks that all remarks be directed to myself. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals in speaking. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey, and the board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. If a matter concerning a district staff member is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, the superintendent of schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to all items raised during this public forum, all public comments will be considered. Each statement will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes in duration. If you'd like to address the board tonight, please come to the podium. Yep. Okay, seeing a large number of you guys just moving towards the microphone, if you could just line up along the wall. Thank you. And then it's, okay. Just name and address for the record when you start.
My name is, My name is Corinne Varley. I'm a PE teacher at Edison as well as the varsity field hockey coach at Westfield. Pardon my voice again. I'm speaking on behalf of the field hockey team and as well as myself being a teacher on the Edison Turf Project. The current Edison grass fields are used for recess and football practice. It's a huge piece of land that has so much potential for not only PE students but athletics. Turf is the preferred playing surface for field hockey. The game is faster and athletes can perform more intricate elimination skills. Playing on turf also provides better ball control as it is a more consistent, flatter surface versus grass, which could have divots and can lift the ball in an unsafe manner. In the fall, there are 4 varsity programs that need to use Keller Stadium for practices and games. Once the season is in full swing, if the turf at Keller is not available, we are displaced and aren't able to practice the necessary skills we need to help make our program successful. In addition, when it rains, the 8th and 9th grade team have to typically cancel practice, so they practice out here. This further hinders the overall progression of our program. For us, playing on grass hurts our sport. Having an additional turf facility that Westfield High School sports can utilize would be a game changer for field hockey in Westfield. This year I started a youth feeder program with the PAL, and out of the 16 towns involved in the league, we are one of 2 towns that plays on grass. This turf project would benefit so many young field hockey players, and I urge the board when it is time to vote to pass this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ellen McLean. I'm the captain of the girls field hockey and lacrosse teams at Westfield High School. I'm here to urge the board to build more turf fields. While our school size, along with the number of teams using turf, probably call for an additional 3 turf fields, it would be nice if you just started with 1. Having 1 turf field puts us at a competitive disadvantage. Oftentimes, varsity teams can't even practice because another team is occupying the field. Today, I didn't even bring my field hockey stick to practice, I just brought my running shoes. Then you should consider how the freshman and JV teams are forced to play on grass fields that are in poor conditions, primarily because of overuse. Those conditions don't lend way to our teams getting better, sometimes even resulting in injuries. Put yourself in our shoes. Don't you think it is disheartening to play more away games every single year? 65% of students at the high school participate on an athletic team at some point. As a community, we owe it to them to enhance their experience. Athletics, like other extracurricular activities, are the foundation of our social lives, the fields where so many friendships are formed. Quite frankly, if you look at your own lives, I bet that many of your friendships with other adults stem from activities involving your own children. I have no idea what is holding you back. Years ago, I remember hearing that the town would be building turf fields at Tamaulipas. I guess politics got in the way of that project because we're still waiting. I would suggest not letting politics stand in your way now. Please do the right thing and invest in our athletic infrastructure. I understand that it will be too late for me and my friends, but we all believe it is the right thing to do. I know future generations of Westfield athletes will benefit and be grateful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Guinillo, and I live at 800 Forest Ave. I'm a student athlete at Westfield as I play for varsity soccer and am a high school All-American at track and field. I'm here to tell you why we need these turf fields. As you may or may not know, the varsity soccer team is ranked number 4 in the state, and the girls varsity soccer team is ranked first, also being the current state champions. Now, why is this important? Well, as you see, we have top quality teams in the Westfield program, and we are, if not, one of the best athletic programs in the country. That being said, if we want to be an ambitious athletics program, we need to start having top facilities. For example, from my own perspective and personal experiences, when I was last year on JV soccer, I would have to ride my bike all the way to Tamaqua Elementary School for practice. On the other hand, my sister would have to play on the freshman soccer team all the way in Roosevelt. My parents would have to pick us up, bring her to the other side of town, and pick us up after practice. And this creates a burden for both parents and players. Just from my perspective as a soccer player, a turf field is very much necessary. Now imagine how necessary it is for other Westfield sports programs like football and lacrosse. Adding on, the turf field is close proximity to the trainer's office and locker rooms, which will create a safer environment for our athletes. We are Westfield, and our facilities need to match our ambitions and achievements as a program. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Emily Barker, 434 Longfellow. With my time this evening, I'd like to implore the district to strive to improve communication with the parents of this community. As many of us have said in the past, we'd like to have more trust in the education leaders of our town. Part of that requires strong communication. There were some big issues brought up in the 2020-21 school year, and addressing those issues this year should be a priority. Firstly, the new health curriculum was approved months ago, and it wasn't until this past Friday that the topics and opt-out information was shared with parents. It was buried at the end of each school's Friday communication. Why was this not shared during the first week of school or prior by the superintendent, since it applied to all grades? Secondly, the district violated the legal wishes of many parents last year by giving surveys to students whose parents opted them out. Cedar Grove parents won a lawsuit against their school district for this very reason. This year, Westfield changed its policies towards surveys. There is no longer an opt-out option in Genesis. It would go a long way for the district leaders to communicate what this policy change means at each grade level. Many parents have sent questions to the district and principals. Why have the district leaders not communicated this to the community at large? Now, the third item is in regard to how the district plans to address anti-Semitism we've been dealing with in our schools. I was told by the head of the social studies curriculum that there's a new mini unit planned for the 8th grade this year to talk about the Holocaust. I suggested this information be shared with the community at large. Instead, 2 days later, a Facebook post was shared regarding another element of the plan, a Holocaust elective being added in the high school. This was shared by a parent who found out about this initiative from the head of the social studies curriculum. Again, why is the central district office not proactively sharing information? This district has a communication problem. Please work on fixing it.
Thank you.
Kyle George, Short Hills Court. First, want to start by congratulating Dana, Ms. Sullivan, on your retirement. You'll leave big shoes to fill, for sure. Now on a completely different topic, and there's no smooth transition, so I'll just jump into it. At the last BOE meeting on 8/30, I raised a new issue about VP Aziz's public support of a woman fired for her anti-Semitic behavior. I won't repeat verbatim what I said a month ago, but if this is news to you, then you can watch my remarks by viewing the 8:30 meeting on YouTube at timestamp 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 48 seconds. If you're just hearing about this, it's not surprising. None of our local news outlets reported it in their meeting coverage. Minutes of the 8:30 meeting that as of the time of this writing were not yet posted on the website, but it's doubtful that they'll be included when they're available. It's like it never happened. There was coverage of a similar issue with VP Aziz's tweets in February, so why the radio silence now? It's unclear. Well, actually, there hasn't been radio silence. The only one making noise has been VP Aziz. On September 7th, about a week after the BOE meeting, VP Aziz published an op-ed entitled "Confronting Liberal Islamophobia." Reading the article, she continuously refers to white liberals and white colleagues, quote unquote, and makes a whole series of identity-based generalizations in a very accusatory tone. The timing of the article would suggest that there's been a row with some of her fellow BOE members. Perhaps more has gone on behind the scenes after the last BOE meeting than is publicly known. It's troubling, though not surprising, that VP Aziz resorted to this kind of identity politics yet again. In my remarks on 8:30, I said, quote, "Baseless accusations and identity politics seem to be VP Aziz's go-to methods when she's backed into a corner, and I won't be surprised if it happens again," end quote. Well, surprise, it happened again. VP Aziz can't seem to fathom that people who disagree with her actions and words are doing so for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with her identity, faith, heritage, ethnicity, or anything of the sort. They're about her actions and words. How can she continue to serve on the board as vice president if she's unable to hear criticism from her fellow BOE members or the community at large without lashing out with absolutely zero reflection about her own actions? The NJ Code of Ethics for school board members says, in part, that members will refuse to surrender their independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, that they'll hold confidential all matters that would injure individuals, provide accurate information, and interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its school. In multiple instances, VP Aziz appears unable to abide. VP Aziz tweeted her op-ed to congressional Democrats, including Ilhan Omar, who retweeted it herself. You can't get much more partisan than that. It's shameful that everyone seems to be looking the other way because they're afraid of what she'll print or say on TV next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? I am Trey Brown. I am the captains for the football and lacrosse team at Westfield High School, and with me is Ryan Waldman and Quinn Wojcik, who are also the captains for the Westfield High School lacrosse team.
I would say probably twice a week is there a home event for Westfield Athletics, which requires us to practice at a different location than Keller, and it's really hard for us to find a field. Luckily, we have the WLC, the Westfield Lacrosse Club, which helps us. Luckily, they donate field space probably twice a week to us, which is very lucky, but it also requires us to drive to a new location, which takes a lot of time and takes away from our practice time. And in addition to that, when we drive to those locations, we also get home very late from practices and are often stuck with maybe an hour to do 2 hours of homework before we have to get to sleep and get up for school the next day. So without another turf field in the town, it's really hard for us to practice what we need to practice to be able to compete with the top teams in the state. So I think that we should have more turf fields. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Schmidt. I'm the girls' soccer coach, varsity soccer coach here in Westfield. I'd just like to start off with just commending all the student athletes who spoke tonight. I mean, product of Westfield, we love it. So well done, student athletes. I just want to kind of go over what Coach Varley said for the field hockey team, what the boys and the girl athletes have said so far. Turf is the preferred playing surface for most of the sports here. Any sport that plays with a ball on the ground, I mean, you're going to want to play on turf. I know Coach Farley said there's 4 varsity teams. We actually split the field between 6 teams, which is about 200 athletes in the fall. This week alone, JV football game. So we're not sure of the schedule. On Monday was a JV football game. Today was a girls soccer game. Tomorrow is a field hockey game. So all of these days, Friday is a sporting event. Saturday is the football game. So every single day that there's a game, there's no practice for any of the other teams in the entire high school. Our practice right now, Coach Farley, myself, Coach Shaw, Coach DeSarno, we talk nonstop via text about scheduling practices. Right now, our practices, the girls' soccer practices, start at 4:45 every single day. So we don't get off the field until about 6:30, 6:45 at night, which means the trainers are also staying longer. Now, this is fine for right now, but as soon as the time changes, we get no field time. As soon as, we don't have lights here, so as soon as the time changes, our practice now is at Roosevelt. Last year when October hits and it's county time or the state tournament time, there was a week of rain where we couldn't use Roosevelt at all, so we paid 2 nights to drive to Metuchen to spend $300 to rent turf space so we could practice. This is also because there was games in the afternoon, which once there are games and we can't use the turf, the grass is unplayable. Just understanding our schedule and what we have to do, it's a balancing act every single week. And I do feel, as a lot of the athletes said here, it's a disservice to the student athletes, to the parents, to the trainers, to the coaches. And we've handled it, well for many a year, and we're looking forward to having it pass. So thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Crawford, 795 Knollwood Terrace. Just want to address a few things, and then I have a few other things to say. The first thing is I want to commend the athletes for coming out here tonight and lending their voice. But I have a slightly different take on it, and that is, why haven't you taken care of our grass fields as a school district? All right, I can't explain this. I understand soccer's point of view, and I get it, but, FIFA has a different point of view. They've eliminated turf fields from World Cup play next year throughout the world because they don't want to play on it. The NFL Players Association is lobbying to get turf removed from NFL stadiums because they don't want to play on it. All right, so, I really have to question, why don't you take care of your own facilities? I mean, lacrosse, I grew up in Long Island playing lacrosse, and we barely ever played on turf. All right, and fields were fine, but the school district took care of the fields. They maintained them. Now, if it's a money issue, you have an opportunity that hasn't happened in 10 years. You have an opportunity to ask for the money you need to properly take care of your grass fields and take that to the voters in April and let them vote on it if it's a priority. All right. If it's not a priority, then let's end the charade here, because turf is not safer. It's not good for the environment. And, I just think that you really need to set priorities for the school district and put those in front of the voters and let the voters decide. But to do a giveaway of over $2 million of land to the town for $1 a year is just disrespectful to the voters. It really is, because it's just a charade. And I can tell you, we will hold you accountable in April. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Eaton, 762 Knollwood Terrace. Over this past year, I think we have brought a compelling argument to the Town Council, the Board of Education, and other government bodies to not only vote down the Edison Athletic Field Plan, but to replace it with a plan of natural, organic grass fields and a professional field manager for all fields in Westfield going forward. Our fields, with properly managed enhanced irrigation, aeration, seeding, and drainage, will put us in a position to increase field capacity in multiple locations. These fields will become stronger and be able to handle increased activity. As a result, no artificial turf and no tower lights would be needed. We all share the common goal of increased field capacity. We can get there not with artificial turf and tower lights, but with well-managed natural grass fields. Natural grass fields are safer and healthier for the students and other users of the fields. The increased capacity over multiple locations is more equitable and without the need for tower lights. Neighborhoods will be preserved and be safer, cutting out the excessive noise, traffic congestion, and parking problems which the current overloaded Edison plan will generate. Artificial turf contains dangerous chemicals known to cause cancer, respiratory ailments, and other diseases. It is not safe for the students. Why take the risk? Non-contact injuries will increase with artificial turf. Artificial turf fields are too hot, too hard, and give off toxic gases. They need to be replaced every 8 to 10 years and are not recyclable. They are an environmental nightmare. Why take the risk? The artificial turf fields shed dangerous materials onto the field itself and into nearby neighborhoods. At Edison, the adjacent brook will become a conveyor belt for all these dangerous materials, sending them downstream into other neighborhoods, especially in heavy rainstorms. Why take the risk? As said earlier, we all have the same goal. Let's get there with well-managed natural organic grass fields in multiple locations. All stakeholders will win. Westfield will shine as the example for the rest of the state to follow. Thank you.
Hi, Greg Lemberg, 528 Grove Street. I'm also glad to see the student athletes here tonight so that they can hear a different point of view than maybe the one that they've heard from other sources. According to the Westfield Leader last week, the report from CME Associates regarding the Edison Field project has been submitted for review. I wish I could say that I was looking forward to seeing the results of their findings, but I became skeptical of the study from the very start. That's because the scope of the study is incredibly narrow, focused just on the Edison Field, comparing natural grass to artificial turf and stadium lights to no lights. If the Town Council's intent was, when commissioning the study, was to determine the best solution for providing Westfield residents with the most incremental field capacity at the lowest cost, they would have widened the scope of the study to include all the park and school properties. Several council members advocated to have the scope broadened, but their request was denied. Why would that be? Could it be that it's obvious that rehabilitating underused grass fields such as Sycamore, Tamaqua School, Washington School, and Elm Street, to name a few, will provide incremental capacity at a fraction of the cost of the Edison plan? Could it be that it's obvious that constructing brand new, top-quality grass fields at Tamaqua Park will deliver far more incremental capacity than Edison, which is already spoken for until 6 p.m. each day? Could it be that individual egos got in the way of doing what's best for Westfield? Focusing this initial $9 million investment plus ongoing costs totaling $24 million on just one Board of Ed property is a huge wasted opportunity. As I have said before, all the Board of Ed grass fields that are large enough to support athletic activities, including WHS, RIS, EIS, Tamaqua, Jefferson, Elm Street, and Washington School, could be drastically upgraded to top quality, safer, more durable playing surfaces with money to spare. This would benefit far more Westfield students and athletes than the Edison project could ever hope to benefit. And it would achieve that goal without the specter of health, safety, and environmental concerns that you've heard so many residents and medical experts talk about. I'll be pleasantly surprised, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, and the CME study will go beyond the limited scope they were assigned. But if they don't, this will just have been another box-ticking exercise designed to justify a suboptimal solution for students, athletes, and taxpayers alike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Board. Ken Warren, $5 Parkway. Good evening. I'm here to speak about the Edison Sports Complex. I submit the following 4 points. Number 1, come April 2023, Westfield residents will be asked to vote on the school budget for the first time in over a decade. How do you think the Westfield voters will respond when they're asked to vote for a $110 million tax levy for the school budget on the heels of the Board of Ed passing this $9 million project for turf field with lights? Combine that with the fact that approximately 24 teachers were just laid off, most of them teachers of the arts. History shows that in 2005, the school budget was voted down after installing turf field in 2004, which resulted in the town reducing the school budget by over $700,000. In 2012, in a landslide vote, voters again voted against the bond referendum, which this time combined school roofs with artificial turf here at Westfield High School. After removing the field from the equation, voters passed the bond to fix the school roofs. Not a coincidence. Westfield residents simply don't want turf fields on school property. Tamaqua Park might be better. This brings up my second point. Number 2, let the voters of Westfield speak. Something this significant deserves a town vote. This is being rammed through without any say from Westfield citizens. This is tantamount to a $9 million taxation without a single vote. Do you realize that in the only statistically sound study done by the town to see where recreation dollars should be spent, fields came in 7th. Walking and bike paths were voted top getters, were the top vote getters. Number 3, the reality here is that the field is primarily not for Westfield schools. School use must end at 6 p.m., at which time club sports plan to use this until 10 p.m. at night and on weekends. How can you justify $9 million for primarily club sports, of which a very large number of players come from out of town? This board's ethical responsibility is to the students of Westfield, not to club sports, which is a profit-generating business. New Jersey School Board of Ethics states that school boards will refuse to surrender its independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups. A vote for this is breaking those ethical obligations. Special interests in politics are not your concern. Edison children are. The students here should be commended for their activism. However, these players for the school don't have field access issues. They have priority. Our high school teams are highly rated without this field.
30 seconds.
Girls are ranked number 4 in the nation. My fourth and final point, how in any way is this equitable to Edison students? In addition to having to deal with the daily dangerous traffic situation, young children will be forced to play on hot turf or on baseball fields behind a fence. Whether you believe this is healthy or not, students will be exposed to turf every day for 3 years, while the other schools in the district will be able to play on grass. Thank you.
Good evening, Terry Brennan, 862 Rawway Avenue. I am a huge supporter of all sports in Westfield. I 100% support the athletes and coaches here tonight who have spoken. The town government has put us in opposition to each other, though, with their divisive Edison plan. Make no mistake, we have a field capacity problem in Westfield, and it's terrible. But Edison Fields would primarily benefit private sports leagues, not school teams. Converting it to artificial turf would only provide any new field hours after dark, so on average 3 hours a day, 21 hours a week, negligible in the context of Westfield's current massive field time deficit. For argument's sake, making the same investment in the unused, isolated, overgrown portion of Tamaqua Park, where no fields currently exist, would provide 100% incremental field use, 6 or so hours on weekdays, 12 or so hours on weekends, 54 hours a week, 33 more hours than Edison Fields would provide. Plus, Tamaqua Park would introduce none of the safety, educational, traffic, and neighborhood problems, and somewhat less environmental and health problems. Better yet, spread the money around town constructing durable grass fields where neglected. Durable grass fields where neglected, undurable, and therefore underutilized grass fields currently exist. I rode around last fall to all of the fields in town on almost a daily basis, and they're not even being used. Board of Ed fields. We already have more artificial turf fields in this town, 3, than the benchmark for comparable East Coast towns according to the Westfield government's own master plan. Why is the government fixated on our children's natural space at one of the middle schools? Your job as a board is to provide a positive, equitable educational environment for our children. And in my opinion, you've generally done an outstanding job of staying focused on that mission. I know this Board of Education would love the benefit of $9 million, but if you were simply given the $9 million with its use under your own discretion, would your first priority be to turf over Edison Field and add tower lights for the benefit of private sports leagues and to the detriment of the educational environment? Is that the first thing on your priority list if you had the money? Especially given that the town has other better options for solving the town's field capacity problems, would it even be in your top 50 priority if you had the $9 million? If the answer is no, then why on earth are you considering it? This body doesn't exist for the benefit of the town government. It exists for the benefit of our children's education and the children here that were brave enough to come up and speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Frank Tadaro. I live at 758 Knollwood Terrace in town. I've been a Westfield resident for 46 years, 11 of which were spent coaching and refereeing soccer games in the town program when my kids played. It's a sport I love, as well as driving my daughter for 2 years to other towns for games that she played as well. You've all heard many well-informed Westfield residents present compelling information about the negative health and environmental effects of plastic grass instead of natural grass, not to mention the excessive costs of using artificial turf instead of natural grass. A great deal of that came from impartial sources. As any soccer fan knows, and that certainly includes me, 2022 is a World Cup year. The world's governing body, FIFA, has required that all 64 matches be played on natural grass to reduce the risks of injury to the players. What's more, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico will be hosting the World Cup in 2026. All 16 venues in all 3 countries must comply with FIFA requirements that every match be played on natural grass for the same reason. Let's follow FIFA's example and keep our athletes safer from injuries by having them play sports on natural grass. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm up here again, and I have no piece of paper, I have no speech, I'm just here, just speaking my mind and my heart and what I know is best for our program. So I am also, let alone the captain for the lacrosse team, I also play quarterback for the Westfield High School. And we've been great, we've had a solid team the past couple of years, but it's been tough. You know, every single day going on Edison, it's been tough. We have to go right after school, go and get taped so we know that we wouldn't get any injuries on the field. But then also on those rainy days, you throw the ball, you got to go inside of Edison, and you just have to focus on the little things instead of fully having a normal practice. And I think with turf, we would help have those practices. But also through our practices, turf would be so beneficial because we really don't hit a lot at practice because of the ground. So I think having turf would be more beneficial. Coming from quarterback, I get hit a lot, but I don't get hit at practice because the ground. And so I think with turf, if we have turf, then we can fully go through our game mechanics, and I think that it will overall help us as players and help us have a better outcome and help just the school be known and broader throughout the state. So just please take it in consideration. So thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nuno Rodriguez, 1219 Boulevard. I'm a father of 3. They all play soccer, flag football, lacrosse, basketball, you name it. We do it, and we love it. A couple of things. First of all, I want to dispel the myth that the organizations in town are for profit, okay? That is an outright misconception, mistake. You want to debate it, I'm all happy to do it. Check all the organizations out. They're all non-for-profit, and they all service Westfield kids, right? They're the same children that attend the school system are the same kids that sign up for all of the various sports, be it soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, football, frisbee, baseball, you name it. Same kids, same taxpayers. Not different ones, same ones. Second, we cannot compare ourselves to FIFA, where most teams play 1 game a week on pristine grass that has an army manicuring it and taking care of it. They practice in other locations, can't make the comparison. You're talking about a team with about 22 players compared to thousands of athletes here in this town. The Westfield Soccer Association, to which I'm the VP of Administration, services over 2,400 kids a year that play. They have to play away. They play in turf in other towns. We have to stop being hypocrites and talk about turf being bad when they play on turf in this town. I was today in Cranford in a beautiful location with 2 multi-purpose turf facilities. Happen to be, the fields are side by side, so I happen to be watching my son play on one field and watching the varsity boys play on the other. Great outcome for both teams. I then rushed back to drive back to come and watch the girls play at Kaler, also turf. So this isn't about turf and this isn't about lights. This is simply about location where we have extreme limitations. It's a fact. We got to deal with it, and we got to suck it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again. I'm Ella. I am the captain of the field hockey and the lacrosse team. I'll keep this very short and sweet. I would like to disagree with all of these people's statements. It is very unfair to compare us to FIFA and NFL. These fields are maintained perfectly by people who are maintaining them and workers. And this is why those governing bodies to make those recommendations, it is important that we have turf fields in this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mona Zhao, 9 Normandy Drive. I came here to speak against the location of this project. I understand from the beginning that why the athletes and the association of this town wanted turf fields and wanted lights, but the location is wrong. This location is a densely populated area. People live around it. We teach compassion in the schools, so I ask my educators and our athletes to have compassion for the people who live in this town, who are your neighbors and your friends. We understand your needs for the fields. Let's find a solution that would benefit all of our athletes, all of our programs, but also don't destroy the peace and quiet life that we enjoy in this beautiful town. So I ask for compassion, I ask for equity. It's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your indulgence. Brian Crawford, 795 Nolan Terrace. Just wanted to bring up a few things. First of all,
if you could just be brief, because well, we typically only allow people to come up.
I know, but you let somebody else go multiple times, right?
So that was my mistake. But if you could keep it brief,
I will keep it brief. I think first of all, this is about scope. Okay, you're responsible for the school children. You're not responsible for the private sports leagues, and I don't think anybody has ever asserted that they are for-profit. They are nonprofit. All of them are nonprofit, including Westfield PAL. But your scope is the students. It's not the other sports. It's not the other leagues. It's not the off hours. It's the students and what they do on school time and within the boundaries that you set as a school board. All right? So, I just want to talk a little bit about the ethics that you guys all signed up for here. I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children, and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, not just the athletes, not just the marching band, all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. Another point. I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interests or partisan political groups or the use of schools for personal gain or the gain of friends. All right? So let's remember the scope. Let's remember the basis for your decisions is not to solve the town's problems. It's to take care of our school children and take care of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Tadaro. I live at 758 Norwood Terrace. The Environmental Protection Agency describes green space as land that is partly or completely covered with grass, trees, shrubs, other vegetation. Further, the EPA says that green space includes parks, community gardens, and schoolyards. The United Nations published chronicles and studies regarding the importance of green spaces as invaluable resources for the health of human beings and their environment throughout the entire world. The Council of European Studies at Columbia University does research dealing with sustainability and environmental stewardship. Their researchers and scientists also conclude that green spaces improve environmental conditions, promote outdoor recreational spaces, active lifestyles, and protect biodiversity by creating wildlife habitats. Green spaces also reduce heat island effects and reduce surface runoff. Emphasis has also been given to the roles that green spaces played to reduce carbon emissions and to improve the health of citizens. The benefits of green spaces are multiple and are listed as environmental, economic, aesthetic, health promoting, social, and psychological. The thought that this current proposal will take acres of green space is sad. But what is really heartbreaking is that it will take green space away from Edison school children and all other kids who will be forced to play on artificial turf, whether they are members of the soccer or field hockey teams or whatever. Manufactured grass is barren and lifeless. Dr. Diana Zuckerman wrote to all of you. She wrote to the mayor, to the town council. She's an expert, as you know, and she's wrote those letters saying that that artificial turf is a soil, water, and air pollutant with questionable benefits and proven risk. As the fields behind Edison stand right now, the area is a green space.
30 seconds.
But if things go forward as proposed, that land can no longer be considered green space by any stretch of the imagination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jean Lemberg. I live at 528 Grove Street. During last month's Board of Education meeting, Dr. Gonzalez shared the 4 district-wide goals for the 2022-2023 school year that he and Westfield's school principals, assistant superintendents, and department supervisors worked together to develop at a leadership retreat. The student achievement and DEI goals resonated with me the most, especially what Dr. Gonzalez described as a focus on, quote, developing and implementing consistent practices to align learning objectives and instructional practices across schools, content, and grade levels, end quote. This will give parents the peace of mind of knowing that their children will receive the same wonderful education regardless of which part of town their family happens to reside. In other words, there will be equity between the schools. Based on the public discussion amongst board members after Dr. Gonzalez's presentation, this goal seemed to resonate with many, if not all of you as well. Unfortunately, it will be impossible to have consistent practices and equity between the schools if you allow the town of Westfield to move forward with its plan to replace the nearly 6 acres of natural grass behind Edison School with 250,000 square feet of artificial turf, which, as I demonstrated previously, is a plastic carpet. The association between green space and the health of children and adolescents has been well documented. It has been noted that, quote, access to green space was associated with improved mental well-being, overall health, and cognitive development of children. It promotes attention restoration, memory, competence, support of social groups, self-discipline, moderates stress, improves behaviors and symptoms of ADHD, and was even associated with higher standardized test scores. It is not fair or equitable to replace the only natural grass area EIS students have for recess and gym classes with plastic grass, especially when Roosevelt Intermediate School is adjacent to Clark Memorial Park, and there are plans to add paved connections between the park and school in addition to the existing walking path. The members of the town council are not experts in education, but each of Westfield's administrators have advanced degrees in education and decades of experience in the classroom and as educational leaders. You can support our school leaders and their goal to create equity across the school district by telling the town council that you will not allow plastic grass to be installed on any Westfield school property. Thank you very much. And I also wanted to say thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez, for putting forth the DEI audit last year, and also thanks to each of you for voting to go forward with diversity, equity, inclusion. It means a lot to me and to my family. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erin Skirdahl, 16 Normandy Drive. I'm the mom of 2 kids at Tamaqua. They're loving the start of school, so thank you all for your input on that. They're soccer players and future Edison school students, and funny enough, I almost didn't come up because I really appreciate all the perspective of these teenagers in the room and could see them saying the same things when they are older. But I'm here because, first of all, my small children actually don't like artificial turf, and they tell me on a very frequent basis that they prefer natural grass because they don't like getting turf in their shoes, they don't like what it does to them when they fall down, and they don't like bringing it home with them. And so I'm here to represent them because they're my children, and they probably have similar voices as their friends. But also because I was part of the CME analysis as well, and it really concerned me how small the scope is that they had. I thought that they would look at things and compare things like safety and health risks and flood risks and environmental aspects, and they're not. They're really just focused on time on the fields. And to the point that was made earlier, I think there are multiple ways that we can solve our field issues, and I would love to see beautiful grass fields as well as probably some artificial turf fields put in other locations, but not adjacent to the Edison School. I think that it is an unfair choice of location. And I'm also here because my mom is a chemical engineer, and she would tell you that, when she was a teenager, she said smoking was healthy and that it was fine for her. And now looking back, obviously that was not a choice. And I wonder if in 20, 30 years, we'll all be looking at artificial turf the same way that we do look at smoking now. So I think that's, as adults, I think it's really important for us to be thinking that far ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other speakers at the podium, public comment is now closed. Dr. Gonzalez, is there any comments you wish to address at this time?
Just a couple of items for clarification. One, with regards to the communication of our opt-out and survey changes, those were part of the annual notifications that were provided for parents, recognizing the scope of the changes. The feedback that I received suggested that, just leaving it there was not enough. So that's the reason why we chose to include it in the Principal's Weekly e-blast. So we've actually had 2 places where we've included it. But once again, I don't want to just check it off that we've used those 2 places. If there's still concerns, certainly I want to take full advantage of it. So our teachers would certainly be available to answer any questions, but I will be including it as well in our upcoming community newsletter. So we are striving to improve communication. We do recognize and accept feedback, but I do want to point out that there were efforts on the district's part to be more accurate in our wording and in what we present to parents, so that they truly did align with our policies as well as state and federal requirements. The second that I wanted to highlight was with regards, I'm sorry, give me one second. There's a reference to the district or the board fired 25 teachers last year. That's just not accurate. During the reduction portion of our budget exercise last year, there were 25 staff members, full-time equivalents positions that were eliminated, but that did not include all teachers. It included other members of the staff within the district, and there's also a suggestion that most of them were teachers of the arts, and that also was untrue as well. I do want to reiterate that is something that we did carefully, and I am confident in the decisions that were made supporting our efforts to continue to maintain programs. And we're continuing, as reported this evening, to identify other ways that we could use stipends and other staff to make sure that our students continue to have the support to be able to participate in other aspects of theater management and production that they may have had before. So I just wanted to just provide that clarification as an additional statement this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any questions or comments from board members? All right, seeing none. I ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law, including harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second? Thank you, Mike. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. We are now in executive session. We will not be returning to public tonight.